Like, why is Taiwan so important? Taiwan is so important because of the chips. America discovered that even in their military hardware, the Chinese chips had backdoors built. In nuclear warfare, at least there are international standards. There is mutually assured destruction, right? There is CTBT. There are various things. This is a free-for-all domain. Aadhaar has been breached here and there. But I can tell you with guarantee that Aadhaar has never been breached. The North Koreans, they are called, that they have an offensive cyber wing, which is called Lazarus by the world.
Right.
Lazarus is a bank robber. And if you look at the Bangladesh bank heist, they were pulling out $1 billion from that poor country. And we saw, footprints of Lazarus in one case which Maharashtra Cyber investigated was the Cosmos Bank case at Pune. Almost 3/4 of successful cyber attacks are basically something called social engineering. Somebody can manipulate you on a phone and ask you for your credentials, right? KK Park had an output of, had a profitable, business of $43 billion before it was busted. And there are, it seems, 30,000 Indians who have been trafficked like this. And see, these are kind of, lawless jurisdictions from where it's very difficult to bring people back.
Where do you think India stands, in this league? Or are we pretending we don't need it?
Today, cybercrime is the third largest economy by GDP in the world. It's almost twice of Indian GDP. It's probably this year, the cybercrime economy is going to be more than $10 trillion.
Jeez.
Okay, imagine this.
It's more than all of African and half of European nations put together.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
And there has been something called organized cybercrime now. So you would have heard of, you spoke about digital arrest.
Yeah.
Now, where are these digital arrests happening from? So it's an irony wrapped in misery that there are these cybercrime compounds located in some kind of a cybercrime special economic zones in Laos, Myanmar, Cambodia.
Okay.
So there are areas which are probably, let's say, talk of Myanmar. So there are areas the military is ruling there. There are areas which are still out of military's purview, which are run by local crime lords and stuff. There, let's say we talk of a park like KK Park, which was recently destroyed. These are cities, living cities with malls, with everything. Only thing that it has a compound outside, and if you go out, they'll kill you. Now, what they do is that they bring in people under the lure of jobs. So, nice IT professionals, they would be called for jobs and then taken to Singapore, this, that. And from there, they are literally abducted.
So that's another racket.
Yeah, so it's human trafficking. Wow. Imagine this. So human trafficking, cyber slavery, once these people are picked up, then they're taken to these compounds, their passport and everything is kept, and they're literally kept in, and then they are trained to become cyber fraudsters. And they have hierarchies, and it's like a corporate organization. So, and imagine this, then when this man or woman who has been kind of tricked into cyber slavery becomes a perpetrator. And these are the people then sitting in speaking Tamil, Marathi, Hindi, Bangla, and scamming you in your own language, right? With proper studios. So when they give you a digital arrest call, they have a complete police station setup, complete with photos
at
the back, with everything, right? With logos, photos, everything, complete. Not only that, they impersonate warrants and everything. And with AI, it's very easy to create logos and everything. So they sent you these fake warrants and so on and so forth. With generative AI, what also has happened that it has given a great fillip to the adversarial side. Like, let's say, even for coding, malware. No, somebody can create polymorphic malware which doesn't respond to any signature detection systems. Or earlier you had these Nigerian fraud emails which had some kind of spelling mistakes. Now you're writing a perfect Askalit, English madhe. So they're writing amazing, good quality emails which you can't even know. So, and look at the scale. So the Myanmar parks, basically, one of the parks, KK Park, had an output of, had a profitable, business of $43 billion before it was busted. And there are, it seems, 30,000 Indians who have been trafficked like this. And Government of India is making huge efforts. In Cambodia, they have rescued a lot of people. Plus, in Myanmar also, people have been rescued. But see, these are kind of, lawless jurisdictions from where it's very difficult to bring people back. So it's an irony that people who have been trafficked, then they are asked to do this, and they are doing it in your language, and they know all your laws and rules and everything. So it is so contextual that they create this psychological sense, as you say, fear, urgency, authority.
Yeah.
That and all of this also comes from data breaches, or basically information that you put about yourselves. So if somebody is calling you, say, ki, hello, is it Aparna? Is your account number this and this? Okay, you have a loan like this. The due date is this. So have you paid this? And they would develop trust.
Just a little before. Yeah.
And then there is always a very thematic theme on top of that. It is sometimes that we are going to cut your electricity.
Oh, yes.
To LIC, to when it comes the income tax season, they'll talk about your income tax returns. Very thematic. Or now, if there is census, so you would have things about census. So the psychological hack is a main way today where fraudsters are acting.
Wars are happening. I mean, there are wars happening right now as we speak. But from there is a shift that seems to be a new kind of war, which is being fought in the cyberspace. And considering that's a key role that you play, not just in Maharashtra, but with all that you've set together for the Indian cyberspace, what are your views, or what would you want to share around that?
I think there's a fundamental shift. So whatever lenses we apply to the analysis of geopolitics, be it geography, be it economy, be it technology, be it security, be it ideology, or even energy. Now, cyber pervades everything. The irony is that I used to say in policing that crimes normally have a topology. That crimes against person, crimes against property, crimes against society, crimes against state. Cyber is something which cuts across everything, right? Like the same person can disrupt law and order, pick your pocket, defame you, and do all kinds of damage. Now, multiply this at the scale of nations. And you understand that we are into a cyber-kinetic realm. And two prominent examples come to your mind. One is Venezuela. So before 150 Apache helicopters go in, they have already disabled the radar detection systems. Now, their radars are active, but they kind of have a hole in which they can't see these helicopters. So everything is functioning nicely. They can see commercial flights, but they can't see these helicopters coming in. Then they go on to disable the system of defense, like S-300, S-400s. They were disabled. Then before entering, they basically bring down the power grid, all this remotely, right? And this all happens within minutes. And why did they disable the power grid? Because they knew that backup power generators require a particular 4 or 5 minutes before they can power the defense systems, so on and so forth. Till they went there, also they used some weapons. And literally a sovereign country's premier was picked up almost in a bloodless way. This. And second example, if you look at the Khamenei assassination. Now, Israel was sitting on the cameras for years. And imagine this, if you start this huge telemetry from the cameras, if you start sending videos, anybody would realize that all of this feed is going somewhere. But what they did was they built a kind of intelligence on the cameras where only information came out, that too also disguised as normal communication. So they did kind of a tunneling wherein just the information bits came out. So for example, they were looking at a particular guard, then a facial profile, a facial recognition of that guard. Then they see him at 4 places, okay, one layer. Then let's say they put a telecom layer on top of that. So they get a number associated with this 3% 3 places.
Right.
Okay. Then they start doing a network analysis. Then they see that this person is driving a particular car. From there, another this thing. Then similarly, when you start doing these things, then you build something called pattern of life.
Okay.
And the Iranians are, nobody's fool. They are a smart nation. So the Iranians were taking all possible countermeasures, but they did not know that even without knowing any names, even without knowing anything, they had built an entire pattern of life. So they knew that this guard belongs to this particular division, he is with this particular detail, and that this guy replaces him when he is not there, right? So once you have had all that, when on the pasture street, 40 people of the top leadership came, they knew that this is happening. Not only that, they got into the telecom system and disabled only those phones, right? So the phones showed active,
Wow.
but they could not call, in that
Without even
interregnum.
realizing
without
that it's
even
not
realizing.
working.
It is cyber, where it used to be just an adjunct, is becoming cyber-kinetic. It's becoming almost one of the main weapons in terms of attacks on nations. And imagine this: with a pinpointed precision, they put a missile there and eliminated all the top leadership of Iran even before the war began.
Yeah.
Right? Or look at another operation against Hezbollah.
Yeah.
That pager operation was going on since years. They had they had poisoned the supply chain. They put up a fake company, and there was a strip of RDX, thinner than the battery, which was residing, and nobody was knowing. And these pagers were being used for years. So this is the extent where cyber. So earlier cyber was being weaponized. Now cyber is a kind of
Weapon in itself.
main weapon in itself.
Wow.
And it can have very destabilizing force, because in terms of conflict, when you see, whenever nations are fighting, cyber weapons are used.
Yep.
Not only in military terms, but on the economy, right? So banks are compromised,
Yeah.
power grids are
Yeah,
compromised.
in fact, that's what I was going to, even before we got there. But as you talked about when you were just mentioning that this got captured, that image got captured, and sort of, not forgetting that there's the police or a policeman in the background in you. I guess it's almost like a virtual, mukhbir, that informant that was the old-fashioned way that perhaps one got information, or a spy in the international space. This is happening somewhere in the cyberspace. I mean, I'm speaking at a very layperson level, but
It's happening
is that
everywhere
right?
in the cyberspace. The cyberspace is everywhere.
would that be sort of a fair,
Yes, yes.
understanding of that?
Yes. See, increasingly,
Yeah.
everything that you knew,
Yep.
right from your currency to your identity to your location to your communication, everything is just digital.
Yep.
And once it is digital, there's a huge reliance on everything digital. Now, what is the backbone of this digital? Apart from the software firmware layers, there are layers of hardware. And look at how supply chain dependencies are there. Like, why is Taiwan so important? Taiwan is so important because of the chips.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Taiwan
Yeah.
is not so important. And somewhere it is said that America discovered that even in their military hardware, the Chinese chips had backdoors built. Even in the F-35 chips,
Oh, man.
China had backdoors built in. So imagine when you go for a war, China can press a switch and disable all your hardware, right? I mean, it's an extreme
Yeah.
scenario.
But
And that is why sovereignty is not just, trying to have your own rules and laws and ideology and political system and culture. But I think sovereignty more and more today is cyber sovereignty. Because what is the use of sovereignty if your adversary can
sit
disable
somewhere
your
else and
cameras and
nuke you
stop
out
your
of-
banks, and
Yes.
even without nuking you?
yeah, well, I mean, and nuke is a word rather than actual
yeah.
nuclear warfare.
In nuclear warfare, at least there are international standards. There is mutually assured destruction, right? There is CTBT. There are various things.
Yeah.
This is a free-for-all domain.
So that brings in, and while I meant to ask that later, but what you just said, that isn't there a guideline of some kind?
I think it's still some kind of a laissez-faire, because attribution is the most difficult thing in cyberspace.
Right.
And today, given the infrastructure of offensive cyber operations, it's also very easy to do a false flag operation. Like, let's say, if you start investigating something, you find that pings are coming from Vietnam.
Yeah.
The poor country doesn't know that probably some server of theirs has been compromised and somebody is pivoting from there.
It may not even be
It
Vietnam.
may not even be there.
So again, I mean, like Sindoor happened, and then there was a lot of backlash which came in more from on the cyberspace from different countries, right? To India or the Indian servers, or there was that happened as a fallout.
Yes. You also saw that there was a lot of China-Pakistan cooperation happening there.
Yeah.
But the main warfare also happened on the front of narrative, which is again, I think, a part of cyber warfare. And Pakistan being a kind of a failed state and a non-democracy, it's a democracy which is run by general.
Yeah.
And imagine this, or the failed marshal or field marshal or whatever you call it.
Yes.
I mean, it's a strange place where you lose a war and you get elevated, right? Amazing. So it's very easy to do things there. I can tell you about one operation which we were handling and where we kind of got Pakistani chats where their, cyber chap was talking to their handler, and he asked him that he needs 1 crore rupees. And that guy on text gave him, colonel rank, gives him 1 crore rupees on text. He says, ki, ditte. Right? Now, this kind of freedom, operational freedom, in an offensive sense, is huge. Because Pakistan has developed a huge machinery. You saw that Twitter recently changed its rules and where it started giving locations.
Yeah.
And then you found that a lot of the Indian influence operations, a lot of the narratives which were masquerading as Indians with Indian names, with a lot of followers, legitimacy, were actually Pakistanis. So their DG ISPR, they have a full-fledged narrative branch, which is for information warfare. They have call centers, they recruit students, they have developers, and they have this whole jing bang, and they have a huge fund for this. And you saw that once, even when Pahalgam happened, or when terrorist attacks happened, within half an hour, Pakistan starts tweeting or saying on social media that this is false flag and India has done it to its own citizens. And it stays and sticks with their citizen. And there's also a stupid class in India which starts believing that, right?
it. Yeah.
So information warfare is real, and they are masters at it.
Right.
Not only that, I now understand with great certainty that the Pakistanis are sitting in China and teaching them Punjabi and Urdu and Hindi and this thing, so that information warfare can be done well.
Wow. So for us, what are typically the cyber vulnerabilities that, as India, we are underestimating?
So first of all, you have to understand that we have created a huge digital public infrastructure. And so much to the chagrin of the West, we have given it free to the people. Like all our digital payment system, digital identity, it's a marvel in the world. When I talk to anybody from other countries, they said, you have a digital national identity and a free payment system, right? It's amazing. And today, our UPI and our digital payment systems are larger than Visa, MasterCard, everybody combined, both in terms of volume and both in terms of number of transactions. So slowly you see that we are becoming sovereign by also supplanting a large amount of the weaponization of technology which the West does. And herein lies also a vulnerability that we need to successfully protect this. Now, if you see, there are a lot of, when Aadhaar came up, there were a lot of attacks against Aadhaar. And people said that Aadhaar has been breached here and there. But I can tell you with guarantee that Aadhaar has never been breached, because they've created an architecture which is really robust. And this is our strength, to have created and rolled out a very large, technical infrastructure which has stood the test of time, and everybody must be attacking it. Everybody and their cousin must be attacking that. And if you see, even what has been called as Aadhaar breaches was basically that people took photos of their so-called Aadhaar cards. See, Aadhaar is a digital identity. It was never meant to put our ugly photos on, top of that, create PDFs of that and, start uploading them on some insecure.
Sites,
So whatever has been leaked generally is from some badly secured or insecure platforms which took these PDFs of Aadhaar.
Right.
So Aadhaar itself has never been breached. Similarly, our UPI has been very, very robust. So that is what I think today sovereignty means.
So then, the cyber disruption, when we look at it, and we talk about, it's almost like the modern version of an economic blockade, isn't it?
Absolutely. Right. A distributed denial of service can really cripple banks. So if you, probably there's a 2014 case where the North Koreans, they have an offensive cyber wing, which is called Lazarus by the world.
Right.
Lazarus is a bank robber. And since, North Korea is not connected to the world economically and diplomatically, they want money for their existence and their operations. So they rob banks. And if you look at the Bangladesh bank heist, they were pulling out $1 billion from that poor country. Already बिचारे गरीब हैं. They were pulling out, and it is such a meticulous operation that they had planned it with the Chinese New Year, and with a Saturday, Sunday, and in such a way that no institution could respond. They had chained together holidays and delays in such a way, and finally the money came out in Philippines, and where laws had changed, where the remittances from casinos were allowed without any scrutiny. So amazing. This is how they did it. So North Korea had this Lazarus, and we saw footprints of Lazarus in one case which Maharashtra Cyber investigated, was the Cosmos Bank case of Pune.
Right.
That in the Cosmos Bank case, you had 29,000 transactions in 20 countries within 2.5 hours. So imagine the massive collaboration these guys are able to do. Here, if I have to ask Chhattisgarh for something, I have to send multiple messages.
From one bank to the other. Forget about even different
even
state.
to a bank, or let apart this, if I want to talk to the Facebooks and the Instas of the world, they become the protectors of democracy and free speech. For all that is, all that what they do. They are a universal digital surveillance mechanism run by certain billionaires, and then they claim to be protectors of democracy. It's amazing. The algorithms are not transparent. They don't even know what they are doing. And then they say that, this is free speech.
Oh my God. You're among the few or the rare IPS officers who also has a master's in psychology. And this fear that I as a citizen experience, how much do you think the cyberspace, actually more than attacking the machines, is attacking, that
the human?
Yeah, the human fear factor, the fear that comes out of lack of knowledge, the fear that comes out of, and we are hearing this whole digi arrests and digital arrests and all of those so often. So in that experience, as someone who's seen crime and who understands psychology, how much of it is machine and how much of it is actually human?
You're spot on, and you'll be surprised. Almost 3/4 of successful cyber attacks are basically something called social engineering. Like today, the person doesn't need to build a complex malware and somehow send it and wait for it that if you click it and it enters your systems. Somebody can manipulate you on a phone and ask you for your credentials, right? And you would hand over those credentials. So this kind of social engineering has become, a menace for the world.
What kind of cyber threats really worry you in terms of for women, young adults in India?
Okay, that is a very serious question. We are seeing, a plethora of cases wherein deep vulnerabilities of people are exploited. Like the young kids, they have various ideas about their body and they have insecurities. And there are these criminals who are exploiting it. I mean, we've seen cases where, girls are asked to send pictures and then they are blackmailed and they are progressively put into more and more harm and literally probably leading to physical trafficking. This, and even in interpersonal terms, very sorry to use the term, but it's called revenge. Like people share intimate pictures when they are in relationship. When it goes sour, people start putting them up. So, and it is leading to, even leading to and depression. And the irony is that the victims even can't talk to their families. They can't tell. And they are being exploited continuously in these cycles.
Right.
So I feel that there is a serious case for platform responsibility here. The platforms are so cautious about copyright that if you want to, put in, let's say, we put a background track on something, they won't allow it for copyright, detect it in real time. But they are not finding out where a criminal is grooming young children or exploiting senior citizen or basically threatening women. They can find this out. Right? They need to put effort in that. And that is where I feel that this laissez-faire kind of, internet
policies,
which basically came from something called Section 230C of Communications Decency Act of USA, which led to safe harbor policies everywhere, which came in 79 of the IT Act here.
Yeah.
It's called safe harbor, that I've created this playground, you come and play. And even if you stab each other, it's not my responsibility. This is not correct. And country after country has been now talking about safety of vulnerable individuals, of citizens, of children, of senior citizens. And I feel that the platforms have squarely failed. I mean, it's an extreme thing to say. They say that they are taking steps.
Yeah.
But I feel that there's great failure because there is so much of harm coming out of this. So what was supposed to be the town square where people would freely mingle and talk about and explore ideas has becoming the playground for groomers and for cyber criminals and fraudsters. And this needs to be definitely controlled. And that is why India came up with Digital Media Intermediary Ethics Code in 2021, where they have gone for a very light touch kind of regulation. They've created a 3-tier structure where the victim or the affected party can directly talk to the nodal officer and present a grievance. And then there are timelines for removal of this, for evidentiary preservation, or for cooperating with investigation, or handing over this as evidence to law enforcement. There are various steps, and it's a 3-tier structure. And only the last appellate thing comes to a government body. But I feel that while these platforms are profiting so much from India, today you look at any digital platform, given our population, given the digitization, given the way we use internet and bandwidth and cheap mobile phones, we are becoming the largest market. And look at actually the ad revenues. So as you know, somebody handling information and public relations of the government, I feel that ads are becoming more and more digital and more. If you totally calculate, a large amount of all corporate ad spend has become digital. When you are earning so much, you don't have any responsibility.
True.
You don't have any duty to care. I believe that as businesses, they have duty to care. They can't say that this is a playground, come here and sell drugs and shoot each other.
Yeah. So I think, when we're talking about duty, platform being one, but if I see children around me, if I see, people around me, kids these days actually are, faster on the digital media, even before they've learned to speak sometimes. Little babies who are sitting and looking at tabs or parents' phones, etc., and being a father yourself, how, what is it that as parents that you feel, or as adults, those who are responsible for the youngsters, what is it that should be done or can be done?
See, this abandonment of parenting and parenting responsibility riles me. That what you are doing is you are just handing over your child a device. Imagine this, that look at it like, traffic laws, that there are traffic laws and there is a way you give a learning license and you tell people about the do's and don't and, the green light and the red light and the yellow light and which side to drive on. Today you are taking this child and throwing the child on the internet superhighway, right? And in yesteryears, it was very difficult for anybody who is an adversary or who has bad intentions to actually approach a child. Here you have made it free. Not only that, children have learned to evade you, right? So most of the children have multiple Instagram accounts. And if you look at the age profiles of people using various social media, so Facebook is for the oldies and the young kids are using such apps which you don't even know about, right? So there are things like Be Real, where they're posting pictures all the time in the situation they are, right?
In real time,
So I don't even know about so many new platforms which are popping up and what the hell they are doing on top of that. And apart from that, there's this called the going dark problem, that there's encryption. Okay, encryption protects everything. Encryption protects our systems. Encryption protects privacy, everything. But imagine this, that everything is so dark and under the hood that you don't have any evidence left, because everything is encrypted. All communication is encrypted, and once somebody is using any anti-forensics, you have nothing left to investigate. So you are in a strange place where the other side is totally enabled. They have a free choice of technology. There is no entry barrier to crime. And here, when you want to investigate it, when you want to protect it, then you have nothing. Building these capabilities takes time. Getting hardware, software, trained people, expertise, laws, policies, right? All of this takes a large amount of time.
So this law policy that we're talking about, I mean, countries like China, the US, Russia, all of them have sort of treated cyberspace as a, well, for want of a better word, a strategic battlefield, right? And there are dedicated cyber rules, there are policies, capabilities. Where do you think India stands, in this league, or are we pretending we don't need it, or?
So it's a double-edged sword. You see what we did with TikTok.
Yeah.
We understood that TikTok was really national harm. It was taking so much data. It was weaponizing narratives, so on and so forth. We literally kicked it out. But today there is so much of dependency on the other platforms that unless and until we have an alternative, it's very difficult to throw the baby with the bathwater.
Oh, yeah.
So hence we are going up with these, let's say 2021 rules, or if you look at DPDP, the Data Protection Act, the Personal Data Protection Act, it has, for very kind of critical data, it has data localization requirements. There are these frameworks which are coming up. But the irony is that a lot of our startups and our economy, our digital economy, even our creator economy is started to depend on these infrastructures. And we cannot take an obscurantist view and just block them because there are economic consequences of that. And hence, we are taking a very cautious, India is taking a very cautious approach.
Right.
And it is counterbalancing safety and security with the needs of the economy.
So, it's I mean, one part of it is that cautious approach kind of thing. But are we, would we be able to sort of create some sort of a soft power, or are we still under recognized for the strategic value that it has for us?
I feel that there are two kinds of uses of technology. One is innovation, which gives you great power, like let's say AI. Look at the kind of advantages it's giving to America. Look at the way China is competing regarding AI. So I feel that we are definitely lacking in innovation. That none of these great things is coming out of India. Ironically, if you look at the inner plumbing of all these systems, except Chinese, it's Indian engineers everywhere. So somewhere we definitely have to develop an innovation ecosystem. But second thing is slightly contrarian to thought, is diffusion of technology. That it's not only countries which invent technologies, it's countries who use technologies. So diffusion of technology is amazing in India. You saw how India utilized digital public infrastructure, the way it diffused it, creating a sovereign stack. And there are further developments on that, like the latest thing to come is ONDC. And after that, AgriStack is literally getting built. And it's amazing what Government of India and its institutions have done to digital public infrastructure. And while we have these advantages, we should understand that we should, as a sovereign country, be able to also invest. Apart from diffusion, we have to, our R&D spends are low. The quality of our patents is low. And unless and until we are able to actually do this Make in India, we will have to create this, intellectual capital. A lot is being done. And a very interesting thing is that the procurement policies of a government are changing. Like the military has done it very well. They are going for 50% compulsory indigenization.
Yes.
And you see the way our young boys, I go to these conferences and I meet this 22-year-old and they say that I supplied the drones for this particular. It's amazing. And I want to see that kind of environment in India, where this exceptional talent, which is being, this brain power, which is being utilized by everybody else, is utilized here in-house to build a sovereign India which is powerful, which is innovating, and which leads the world of tomorrow.
But when we talk about that kind of freedom or ability to think and innovate, it's as Indians, being a democracy that we claim to be, how do we balance that cybersecurity with this whole freedom of expression that the youngsters are looking at, sort of, because it can be weaponized or it can manipulate.
It is and it will be weaponized, right? Now you saw if you
And particularly when we talk of it from from being a democracy, from talking about freedom of expression.
You see how these social media platforms were weaponized again and again and again in the world. You saw Arab Springs, right? How country after country were destabilized, like people were killed, premiers were killed, and countries, and those countries are still, many of them have not stabilized. And recently you saw how these Gen Z revolutions swept across countries, like Nepal and like Bangladesh. And what was touted in Bangladesh as Gen Z revolution turned out to be a jihadist a movement, right? Which threw up such obscurantist, extreme, radical religious thought that nobody had imagined it. And everybody was praising it as a Gen Z revolution. In Nepal, also they, literally
burned
the parliament, and
now they have a
wife of the
there.
ex-prime minister died in that. And you know what were their demands after that? That the statues of those who have died have to be put on every airport. I mean, so I think political maturity takes time, right? And one has to understand that while you can, so freedom of speech is not an absolute freedom. If you look at the scheme of the Constitution, it is also limited by others' similar rights. Now, you don't have a God-given right to, go out and disrupt everything just because you have freedom of speech. There are other competing freedoms. And this democracy has done a very good job of counterbalancing these freedoms. And then we have very robust institutions, right? We have courts, we have the executive, and we have a very active press. So there is a counterbalancing, and there would be polemics. And see, polemics is the this kind of a debate is the lifeblood of democracy. And you would see these voices where people are very unhappy. Definitely. Not everybody.
That's how a CJP is born, right?
Yes, absolutely. But if you look at the membership, I mean, a lot of it is coming from disgruntled Pakistanis. It's amazing that they have so much of interest. I mean, if this much interest they put in their own country, they won't have a failed marshal running the country.
But it's truly amazing how overnight, and that speed of it is what really amazed me when, because anyone seems to say, oh, CJP. And when I looked at stuff, I'm amazed that literally in a couple of hours that you're turning things around. And that's the reason also for this question, that freedom of expression that we're allowing, how are we able to control, or I won't even use the word control, but how do we perhaps be a little more sensible about that manipulation?
See, there is something called Sat Sat Vivek Buddhi, common sense, which is the most uncommon entity.
Everywhere.
Right?
Yes.
So if we are, as a sovereign country, we can't allow our young population to be led in narratives by some, nefarious forces sitting somewhere who are seeding these narratives and disrupting everything. You don't want people out there. There are things which are imperfect, right? We have a large colonial history. We started with a great disadvantage. See, in 1820s, India was 1/3 of the world trade, almost 1/3 of the world trade. By the time Britishers left us, we were less than 2%. They totally impoverished us. They took almost $65 trillion of our wealth. Today we are fighting to become more than a $5 trillion economy, right? $65 trillion they took away from us. And then the West is coming. West had slavery and segregation till 1960. They have started to come and tell us what is democracy. Right? And even if you look at the way West weaponizes everything, right, from financial institutions, the IMF, the World Bank, everything is tied to their ideology and their conception of democracy. And that is why you see parallel systems developing. That's why you see that, BRICS is trying to develop as a bloc. And one has to understand that young impressionable minds do not understand these forces. In Bangladesh, they totally disrupted and threw off a government, threw off a legit government, and they put a Western puppet there without any legitimacy. And if we are going to allow this, I think then it is an absolute affront to Constitution and to our sovereignty. So somewhere we will have to counterbalance this. And by counterbalancing, I don't mean that one has to crack down upon this. See, India has always, we are the argumentative Indians, right?
Yes.
So we have had a system of Shastrarth
Yes.
from our very Shastras,
Yeah.
right from Vedic times, where
Always been a
people have
debate.
been discussing
Yeah.
this. And I think, see, if CJP has really this kind of thing, let it show electorally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The real test is the ballot.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And let anybody say anything. The real
Yeah.
test is ballot. And let us see how they perform on the ballot.
True.
Because, as I think Genghis Khan said, that it's very easy to fight. It's most difficult to get down and govern.
Totally.
It's
Totally.
very difficult
Yeah.
to get down from the horse and govern.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that you are seeing in country after country where these revolutions have taken place, that they have no idea how to govern. Right? You have destroyed something, but you don't know what to do now.
True. And I can sort of so hear the person in you who's also studied public administration in that sense, right? So as an individual, as I mentioned right at the start, that there's so much multiple, an engineer, a public administration person, a psychologist, all these multiple or different and diverse, very diverse studies that you've had. How do you feel have they benefited versus, let's say, a single focused specialization that you may have pursued?
I think what it gives me is that, see, engineering teaches you this intense focus on solving a task.
Right.
And more than anything that you study in engineering, it's basically a mindset that an engineer thinks about solving a problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But once you go to social sciences, you understand that it's not just probably an instant solution. It's probably you have to look at the entire ecosystem and environment and think how this is going to pan out in terms of policy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the policy is not a maths question. The policy has,
Yeah.
100 claimants and half of them would always be unhappy.
Yes.
And there's a story about, Shankar, Parvati and Nandi. And you put any competition, people would criticize it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
If both sit on the Nandi, then animal rights people would come. If they're carrying the Nandi on their head, they will see that they're not logical people.
Yeah.
So policy is like that whatever you do, there would be people who would be criticizing it. But probably multiple, these hats have given me lenses to study something.
Yeah.
It's also given me the appreciation to understand if somebody else is saying something. So when somebody is saying something, I do not think it as wrong. I try to understand where they come from.
Yeah.
Because that perspective has some value. And if I can pick something from that value, every person has to teach something to you.
So, and continuing, with you as the individual, your book, the Cloud Chariot that you've written about, of course, dates back, BC Kalinga.
Yeah.
So from there on. But you've also spoken about Indians suffering from cultural amnesia, right? And in that, so sort of in the age of algorithms, all of that, why does ancient memory matter more than, more now and not less?
So, see, if you don't have roots, you don't know who you are, right? And that is also the irony of the current generation, that you ask them about, you go to any school in Mumbai and ask them, they would know all the names of US President, Vice President. Ask them about the name of our own Vice President, and they
Most
would fumble.
people don't know, yeah.
Ask them the name of all the states in India, they would not know, but they would know all the states in the United States. Somewhere, I also very strongly felt that the whole social discourse, the whole discourse on digital media, our education system, somewhere is making us rootless. Also, the colonial legacy. They specifically, if you look at Macaulay's notes on education, he made it a project to obliterate all our roots so that there is no self-determination, there's no confidence. And that is why today, it reflects that why don't we make big companies? We are the engineers who are doing everything, but we don't feel that, we can take that flight. Somewhere, I'm sorry to use a very strong, this kind of emasculation of our psyche that has happened. And that is why it is important to understand cultural amnesia. And when you look at this whole way of life, which has been there in India, you find that it's been running for millennia. Small things have been running for millennia. And why do we discard them? Why do we discard them? Because we learned something from the West. The West
Someone
is a
in the West didn't endorse it for us.
The West is a small kid in terms of culture. When we had empires, they were grazing sheep.
Yeah, true. So true.
So while writing Cloud Chariot, if you, I basically understood that in Kalinga, at the post Ashokan Kalinga, at the time there was an Arthashastra based administration, which made me to read both the Sham Shastri and the Kangle edition of Arthashastra, and even books which are prior to that, like Brihaspati Shastra. And then I understood that what a developed society was that. Do you know that there was, in those times, I'm talking of 3rd century, 4th century BC, there were traffic fines, right? Giving a cart to a minor to drive is a fine. Parking the cart on a busy street is a fine. Can you believe it? There were excise laws which knew different kinds of alcohols, and which had different kinds of taxes on different kinds of alcohols. It was such an evolved society. And why do we throw away all this? And imagine that some paradigm which has emerged out of something is the only paradigm. And that is why I have serious issues with the West framing us. In last week, I wrote an article about how the West sees us. So the West sees us through either some kind of a colonial residue or their ideas of democracy. We had democracies, 16 Mahajanpadas, in the 5th century BC. We had Anga Banga Kalinga, we had 16 democracies, right? And they are coming and teaching us democracy. And imagine this, there's some World Press Freedom Index in which there are 157 countries, and they are placing us 150 below Libya and below, Afghanistan. I mean, what kind of tomfoolery is this? And that needs to be addressed. And this needs to be addressed by having a profound understanding of where you come from. That please don't preach to us. It's only you took this away from us. You took away all our gold, you took away all our effort, you took away all our intellectual capital. You degraded us. And today you think it's the white man's burden to come and teach us again. Please, thank you so much. You've done it. You've done it for centuries.
Which is so true. But then, what you were just talking about, and this reading, as you said, you were reading a whole lot for that. And I also remember reading up somewhere that your usual me time is that morning time, which is the couple of hours, I guess, which is the non-disturbing time. But
my morning is basically, 11 to 3 in the night.
Talk of Nishachari philosophies, right?
True.
But I guess, which is where the amount of research that you do put in, your second book, The Dangerous Minds of India, I'm sure there was probably more learning that you had in putting together that book than the actual policing that you've done endlessly.
Absolutely true. Like we were doing, for example, one ISIS profile. And generally in policing is basically, kind of a hardcore problem solving, that you're looking at something, you're looking at evidence, you're piecing things together, and you're, developing evidence enough for trial. But once you start looking at this, as their lives as people, and also of the mechanism of how they were lured into this, how does a normal functioning individual who's been well educated suddenly becomes this radicalized individual who wants to strap bombs and blow up people? It's a huge transformation. How does that happen? To understand that the whole machinery of this conversion of a normal individual to a radical person, I could understand that how this is operating, and the different layers of that, how they're using technology, how they're using ideology, how they're creating a narrative of weaponization, and then how there are these talent spotters who are understanding vulnerable individuals. They're taking them out and slowly grooming them towards these thoughts, and then finally taking them to a place where they can be literally fed to cannons. So this understanding probably you don't get in policing. You get glimpses of that. But when as an author you want to write, you research and you understand everything. You also understand their perspectives as to why they did it, what are they thinking, and what they feel about that now. So it gives you a complete 360 picture.
So, looking at it in sort of coming from that and the cultural belief and the policing factor, being part of a team that, pretty much set up cyberspace and being actively involved there. Today also working with the government very closely with the CM's office, so on and so forth. Do you really foresee a future where nations build sovereign sort of AI ecosystems? And do you think India would be able to put together like a dedicated budget, security clearances, national red lines? I mean, how far are we from that kind of a future?
Wonderful question. It's absolutely happening now. So we went to this India AI conference, and I had multiple sessions there. And we realized that India is understanding that AI is going to be the test of sovereignty. Let me give you an example. So I asked 3 Chinese models a question. I said, insights from Trump's visit to China. None of the Chinese models replied. Can you believe this? They simply refused to answer. It was a simple thing. It was, a publicized visit of one premier to the other country. The Chinese models don't answer. You can try it out. You can try it on Quen, you can try it on GLM, and you can try it on Kimi. They don't answer. I have screenshots of that. They don't answer, right? And let's say if you talk about any of these questions which are slightly contentious, then if you understand the bare bones of technology as to most of the tech world is actually woke. So, and they encode their thought process on that. And if you talk about India, it comes from a particular lens. So, and it gets multiplied because today everything, right from your itching eye to whom you should vote for or what you should eat, everything is being asked to ChatGPT. And ChatGPT has been made by a fraction of white men with particular thought processes. And why we require something which is now the cognitive infrastructure of the world, we will need to have our own sovereign AI or to need to put guardrails around this. Because otherwise it's so easy to hijack anybody. You put these layers in a cognitive model and you don't even need to do propaganda. It's automatically happening. You are self getting into
without even asking.
Without even asking.
Yep.
So that is why it's absolutely essential to put sovereign guardrails around AI. And that is happening. India AI mission is putting a huge amount of money on all stacks, right? From getting compute to getting expertise to developing own sovereign models to data localization. A lot of things are happening on this front.
So talking of guardrails and being sort of mindful of what the youth looks at, what the citizens look at, if you had to give this one message to India's youth in terms of surviving this whole digital future, not just technologically but also emotionally, mentally, from a space of and more important than that, even ethically, what is that thing that you would say to our youth?
One thing is that people think that online and offline laws are different. So, no. Online and offline laws are the same.
Right.
It's not a laissez-faire. It appears so. But the consequences are real. And look at yourselves and think that would you stand by this 5 years, 10 years later? Whatever you're doing now, whatever you're saying now, would
you take pride in that?
Would you take pride in that, right? It's something simple like that people put so many photos of themselves. Would you like your employer to find them out 5 years later when you're appearing for a job interview?
Right.
So understand that the world is not this instant place of dopamine rush. There are consequences. The consequences are real. Understand them.
So I think a counter question to that really, as a philosophy, we talk about living in the present moment, which in their own warped sense, the youngsters seem to see as, today is how I need to have fun and today is all I have. And, which then leave for the future kind of thing is, I don't see it, so I don't need to be accountable for it. And how could they, not should they, but how could they balance this out for themselves? Because it's fine for us perceived or seen as adults. I mean, 2 of us speaking, the older generation, advising the youngsters saying, would you want this seen 5 years later? But how does one really get them to think about it, if not essentially do it? But how would they think about it?
See, last some years, what has happened is, if you look at the consistent portrayal of parents or of anybody who is in a mentoring situation, of your teachers, of whomsoever we used to respect, Like, I still meet my teachers, and wherever they are, I go and touch their feet.
Yeah.
Right? The young kids won't do it because they don't find it essential. Now, there has been this huge destruction of legitimacy and abandonment of parenting. The society also has a responsibility of parenting children.
Yes.
When we were young, anybody from the colony could come and,
Tweak
pull
your
my
ear.
ears.
Yeah.
Today, it's not possible.
Yeah.
Today, our parents used to go and ask the teachers to discipline us.
Yes.
Today, if the teacher has said something, the poor teacher is trying to defend. Now, one has to understand that we can't destroy legitimacy like this. And there have been people who probably haven't seen so much of Instagram as you have, but they've lived life, and that lived experience counts. And I believe that we should also not abandon our responsibilities to protect and guide the next generation, because this dopamine rush, this living in the moment, they are at a very critical juncture where they have to make something of their lives. Right?
Very impressionable minds.
Very impressionable minds. And here it is where I tell people that the B-towners, the people from smaller things, they have fire in their belly, and they are going to, beat the hell out of you in every job. You look at, the success scores in IIT and other competitive exams. It's always the B-town kids. Because they are looking at real questions. They are not bothered about some celebrity's hairstyle or dress. And it may appear very important to you right now, but they are away from all these distractions, and they are pursuing life goals and real goals because they want to come out of where they are. The irony is that people who are comfortable, who are rich, who are already well ensconced, they are getting into a place where they would regret it in some time in life. And that is a caution which I want to
share across. I think it's been amazing talking to you, and thank you for
so much.
Sharing all of this. And I, of course, look forward to more connects in the future.
Thank you so much. Your questions were very well thought of.
No, thank you.
So much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.